All right, all right, all right. What's up, family? What's up? What's up? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I just gave myself a little bit of a grace period in regards to starting the show. I see we got two people watching. I appreciate you for rocking with me. I want to get straight into it. We got a lot to talk about here. I mean, we got to talk about Portland. We got to talk about ICE. We got a lot going on. We got Antifa, we got Chicago. Yeah, man, we goes on and on and on. The illegal superintendent scandal. We got a lot to talk about. So, Portland, okay? Portland. Let me switch the banner real quick. We got Portland in the building, right? And I want to get you guys' take on this whole thing with this situation with the insanity of Portland and Antifa and, the complicit left or the radical left, as we like to call it. Um, Now, I'm not sure if you guys know because Portland used to be one of the most beautiful creative cities in America. And now it looks like a backdrop from The Walking Dead. And you got graffiti on the courthouses, tents replacing front lawns. You got mobs and ski masks deciding which businesses live or die. And the wild part is it didn't happen overnight. This wasn't uh, a spontaneous combustion. This was policy. This was leadership by people who confuse leniency with compassion. And you can't go 10 minutes without seeing a story of some peaceful protest, quote unquote, turning into a full blown riot. And the politicians just stand there shrugging like it's above their pay grade. But this is exactly what happens when you let ideology override order. And the kicker of that, right? The kicker is when Trump tried to send in the National Guard to restore peace, a federal judge said no. So if you let that sink in, and in regards and a result of the federal judge saying no, especially in Portland, you wonder why you have a situation like this. Now, for you guys who don't know, Nick Sudor, he is a journalist out there doing what the mainstream media refused to do, which was record what's actually going on the ground when it comes to ICE in Portland and the protests, so called unquote. And it was just mind blowing, right? How they treated him. So Nick Sator was attacked in Portland for walking on a public sidewalk, and it was caught on a live stream. And I want you guys to check out what was caught on the live stream. Check it out.
Been assaulted here, and we're live, right? We got it. Okay. So now you're gonna get assaulted. You're gonna be pushed. You're gonna be. Don't do that. Where'd it go? I don't know, man. I got you.
I know. I had to. Hey, I've been neutral. I had to pick this up because I got. Yes, I have. I had to pick this up because I got dropped. Yes, I did. I got as much as I could. I didn't see it, and I was asking people what happened. I almost had somebody hold the camera until I saw there was medics there to help him. Hey, there's an ambulance coming in. Get out of the middle of the street.
So there you have it, right? So when a federal judge basically says no to Trump trying to send in the National Guard to restore peace, and if you really let that sink in, the federal government literally blocked help because stopping the chaos would embarrass the Democrats running the city. And the message was clear. You better to let a city burn than admit conservative leadership was right. And you got people running around calling themselves revolutionaries while burning down Starbucks, the same coffee shop that funds every woke cause they claim to support. And you still got anchors on CNN describing that as a civil disobedience, but really, that's not civil disobedience. That's a tantrum with explosives. Now, you guys just seen a video of Nick Sador, a journalist out there, doing what the mainstream media refused to do. Like I said, gets attacked, assaulted, his gear smashed by Antifa. Now, for those who don't know who Antifa is, Antifa is basically the individuals who are not just one group. It's a bunch of people who say they fight against racism, hate crimes, and far right policies. And some of them protest peacefully, sometimes cause trouble like breaking stuff or fighting at rallies. And they believe standing up against people they see as bullies or dictators, but not everyone agrees with how they do it. So Antifa is people who basically say they're fighting against hate and dictators, but sometimes use rough or extreme methods to do it, which is contradicting in itself. But you guys get where I'm going with that, right? So now, not only to mention that, and why does this happen, right? You guys may ask, right? Because you got this guy with a camera, and Antifa, when he runs to the police for protection, they arrest him, Nick Sador, not the mob, not the ones with the mask, not the individuals who were destroying his equipment as he is a journalist walking around and trying to get things on the ground. And we reached a point where doing your job, telling the truth, will get you handcuffed faster than committing an actual crime, and the system is upside down. And you got criminals walking free and truth tellers getting booked. And why does this happen? Because the mayor of Portland appoints the police chief, right? So that means law enforcement doesn't serve the people anymore. They serve the mayor's ego. And that ego is terrified of offending the activist base. And the cops can't intervene because the order from City Hall is to stand down. So imagine being a trained officer forced to watch your city burn because some mayor doesn't want to trend on Twitter for the wrong reason. And these politicians would rather sacrifice the safety of their citizens than lose favor with their party donors. And the real conspiracy isn't hiding in the shadows, it's happening right in front of us. So, how does Antifa always know when a raid is coming? You may ask, right? How are they so organized, so well funded, yet so protected? Because someone in power is making sure the hammer never drops. And you can't tell me these mobs operate for years with zero accountability, without support from the inside, because the mayor, the city council, the media, they're all part of the same unspoken pack. Protect the chaos, blame the conservatives, repeat, right? So the media's job used to be to inform the public. Now it's to pacify the public. And every major outlet ignores mainstream media. Portland's collapse because it shatters their narrative. They spend years branding conservatives as a threat to democracy or threats to democracy, so to say. But when far left radicals destroy entire neighborhoods, the silence is deafening. And now I want to get to Caroline Lovett, right? Because she had a lot to say on the matter in regards of Nick Sador and stuff getting, um, arrested for just catching what's the truth on the ground. And this is what Caroline Lovett, the appointed individual who tends to hold press conferences for Trump in the White House. This is what she had to say.
I would encourage you as a reporter to go on the ground and to take a look at for yourself, because there's been many members of the press, not press in this room, but independent journalists, some of whom we'll be inviting to the White House very soon to share their stories, because they have been in the middle of these riots and they have witnessed the anarchy that is taking place night after night. It's on video. You should play it on your show. You have a great opportunity in prime time on CNN to show your audience. Yeah, but you're probably talking to partisan Democrat officials who are opposed to everything this president does. You should also ask the people who live in Portland. We've actually heard from many members of the community who have said that this is complete civil disobedience. It's a mess. It's been loud. It's been troubling for neighbors in the community who are just trying to live peacefully. And these people are not there to peacefully protest. They are there to cause mayhem and havoc. I would encourage you as a
So
reporter.
there you have it, right? And Caroline Lovett, she said it so perfectly when she challenged CNN's Caitlin Collins, because she said, "Why don't you cover this? Why don't you be on the ground like Nick Sudor, who is a journalist, obviously independent journalist, catching things on the ground with these Portland peaceful protests that are not really peaceful protests. They are basically hackling and provoking ICE and standing in front of, a ICE detention facility to basically not let cars go through and call themselves saying that ICE is unwelcome and stuff like that." So the thing is, CNN won't cover it because they can't show you what the policies from the Democratic Party creates. The moment they admit it's real, that's when their ideology crumbles, because this is what defunding the police look like in real life. It's not justice reform, it's open season. Citizens fend for themselves, criminals run free, and leaders hide behind press conferences pretending to care. And every time you see a broken window, a burned business, a terrified resident, that's the price of progressive policies, or progressive politics, so to say. And that's the cost of pretending tolerance means letting evil run wild. So you have to understand, family, the whole game and the whole play of this whole thing is create a manufactured problem, bank on that manufactured problem. When it's time for reelection, especially for the Democratic Party, they've been doing this for years. They will basically act like they're coming to swoop in and cape and save the day as the hero, based on the manufactured problem they created, and they already know the solution too. So when it comes time to re-election, and then when it comes time to gaining the American citizen vote, oh, I can fix the problem. They fixed the problem. Wait, now you can just vote for me because I fix problems and I'm actually having your best interest. But that doesn't really mean having your best interest, because if that's the case, they would have never manufactured the problem in the first place, right? Just common sense thinking here. And the interesting part is, and I'm not going to read the article, but inside the Antifa sage, this article says, and this is from the New York Post, on War Zone Portland and a resistance to the National Guard cleaning it up. I never understood, and it's so saddening to see that we have came this far of a disconnect, that we can't even have a bipartisan understanding for the safety of American citizens, not to sit there and prioritize illegal migrants over the American citizens, in which we, the taxpayers, aka the American citizens, are the ones who fund the programs, or I should say the reform programs, that the Democrats seem to prop up from their manufactured problems they created in the first place, which was never a real problem until they created it by acting like they had the solution all along to basically gain the vote of the American people and fool us. But the thing is, Americans are waking up. We are not dumb. We are not stupid. And that's the reality of it. So when you really look at this thing, right? And I'm not going to get into the whole article. You guys could check it out. But I wanted you guys to see the picture, because these are individuals standing up with picket signs going after, well, or I should say provoking ICE. So they're standing outside an ICE building, right? Literally wilding out. And ICE has to defend the ICE building because they're not letting cars out. They're provoking ICE and wearing Halloween costumes. October just began, and this is what we have come to, right? So I just wanted to let you guys see the truth within all this and have a conversation about it. And that's the whole thing of it all. So here's the worst part, because Portland isn't alone, right? This is the test market, the experiment. The left looked at Portland and said, can we get away with this? And they did. So now this spreads. You got Seattle, Minneapolis, Chicago, Philly. Every city run by weak mayors and corrupt ideology is walking down the same path. You can't build a civilization on feelings. You build it on law and order, morality and accountability, and three things the radical left treats like cuss words. So here's the truth nobody else will say. Portland is gone, not metaphorically, is gone. The spirit of order, safety, and pride that used to define it has been replaced with chaos, fear mongering, and shame. But it doesn't have to be permanent. The same way bad leadership destroyed it, strong leadership can rebuild it. And the problem is people keep voting for the same insanity, expecting different results. So until America wakes up and stops rewarding weakness, more Portlands will burn. And that's not prophecy, that's just common sense, right? So now I want to go over to Chicago and ICE raids and Chicago's collapse and the death of accountability, right? Because Chicago has the worst mayor in history. This man is confident. This is confident. This is a confident idiot. The worst thing I can the worst thing in the world is confidence, or I should say, put it like this. Idiotic confidence. It's one thing to have confidence, but it's another thing to have confidence masking just being incompetent to the point where you're just an idiot. I'm just being honest. So I want to move on to the next segment. This is, as you guys may know or may not, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, right? So you ever notice how every time something good actually happens in this country, the media finds a way to frame it as evil? Well, ICE does its job, arrest violent offenders, clean up mess in Chicago, and suddenly the left loses its collective mind. Now, you'll think law enforcement kick down doors at daycare centers the way they talk about it. Nope. They arrested gang members, human traffickers, and people illegally squatting in condemned buildings. But instead of a thank you, all you hear is this is racist, all this divisive rhetoric, everything is racist to people who hate rules, basically. So Chicago is a mess. But before I continue to elaborate and give my opinion on it, I'd rather you see what Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson action has recently, um, what action he has taken recently. Check it out.
Today, we are signing an executive order aimed at reining in this out of control administration. The order establishes ICE-free zones. That means that city property and unwilling private businesses will no longer serve as staging grounds for these raids. And today, we are signing an executive order.
So he signed an executive order basically creating ICE-free zones. Chicago is a mess. You could dress it up with speeches and slogans, but underneath all that sanctuary city fluff, the truth is raw and ugly. You got Mayor Brandon Johnson signing executive orders that make it illegal for ICE to operate in parts of the city of Chicago. ICE-free zones, they call them. But let me get this straight. We can't even enforce federal law on federal land because you're trying to protect criminals. So what's next? A crime-free prosecution policy? Because where you just don't arrest anyone. Where they do that at? Because that's exactly what's happening in Chicago. That's basically what's in the fluff of this whole ICE-free zone order. You're condoning and incentivizing illegals to be protected, and they're not even legal, and let alone at the cost of the American taxpayer dollar, where you think this is a game. Because look at it. I just want to give you guys an example. Over one Labor Day weekend, 54 people got shot in Chicago. That's a war zone. That's not a community. So yet these mayors like Mayor Brandon Trash Johnson go on camera, pretend everything is fine. We don't need help from the National Guard. Yes, you do. Anytime you have 45 people shot over in a weekend, over the weekend, that's horrible. We talking about war zone Call of Duty style at that point. So your citizens are begging for it, but these politicians don't want order. They want optics. They want to look like heroes to the activist class, even if it means your streets look like I said, Call of Duty. And it's always the same pattern. Chaos erupts. The Fed offers to step in. Donald Trump just said, look, just call me. J.B. Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson, just call me. Look, I'm willing to help. All the governor got to do is say yes, and we're going to come in. And Democrats leaders says what? No, we got it handled. Spoiler alert. They really don't. Because if they did, They wouldn't be asking for more money from Donald Trump, but let alone they don't want actual help when it comes to cleaning up the city from crime. That shows you the priority. Because, see, Mayor Brandon Johnson and J.B. Pritzker's stance is, oh, well, we don't need help from ICE and Donald Trump at all. Donald Trump bad, Orange Man bad. But give us more money, we'll handle it. If you just give us more money and more resources, we'll have more reform programs. Well, guess what? Reform programs don't stop bullets, and criminals don't care about reform programs. That's just the reality of it. I don't know why he think we stupid. I don't know why he think we so naive. But at the end of the day, when you got kids can't even walk down the street, people can't even come, residents can't even come outside and walk down the street and enjoy the city, you got a real problem, buddy. You got a real problem. So the media paints ICE as villains while glorifying criminals as victims of circumstance. But here's the real twist. People in the neighborhoods being raided are happy. They're relieved. And I don't want you to take my word for it, right? Because you got J.B. Pritzker out here basically saying that we don't need your help. This is the governor of Chicago. And the weekend, literally this weekend, or the past weekend, because this video was October 6th, which was on a Monday. This past weekend, at least 30 people were shot in Chicago and 5 were killed. And you got Chicago residents pleading for help for Donald Trump. But J.B. Pritzker refuses to acknowledge the issue. You want to know why? Because the more the chaos, the more they feel as though they can expunge or extort money out of the Chicagoans and just American taxpayers. That's why they keep asking Donald Trump, give us more money. We don't want the help from the actual law enforcement. We can handle it with the reform programs, but that's how they basically play the game to get more money. And through the chaos, they can make more programs. But under those programs, who's to say they're really being effective? If the programs were so effective, then why the hell do we have crime running rampant where 30 people are basically getting shot over the weekend in Chicago? And you call that a good thing? The city is in an uproar. The city is a mess, man. So they want to disguise these programs as something good, but the only good thing about it is they're enriching themselves by basically taking money, funds from the government, which is coming from American taxpayers, and basically disguising it as they're helping Chicagoans when they're really not. They're basically taking money from under their feet. The programs don't do much. The city is a mess, and it's a trash dumpster fire. But check out J.B. Pritzker because he has a different opinion. He thinks everything is so great.
There is not an emergency in the city of Chicago.
In Chicago over the weekend, at least 54 people were shot. This is just over Labor Day weekend.
We do not want troops on the ground in the city of Chicago. Neither do the people of Chicago or the people of the state.
They're going to hold their cards to their chest and say, we don't need you in Chicago. Well, I'm here to say we do need you in Chicago.
No one wants them to come, that crime is down.
The governor as well as the mayor should be on board with it just so we can get a bit more of security in Chicago.
Do not come to Chicago. You are neither wanted here nor needed here.
This guy is crazy.
For anyone in our community to say that things are getting better and that people are safe, that is an outright lie.
The president is still operating on some antiquated idea.
Our children can't walk around the community without fear of being hurt or kidnapped or having a drive-by.
Chicago is in much better shape as a result of the work that we are doing to prevent crime, to interrupt crime, to reduce crime.
I don't see a reduction in crime.
The city is moving in the right direction on crime.
Do you feel like the city feels safer?
No, not at all.
No one really feels safe. It's impossible to feel safe in a city like this, especially with the leadership we have.
Now, I don't get how J.B. Pritzker sleeps at night, knowing that he's basically endangering the people that actually elected him, having faith in him to have the best interests of Chicagoans. It's mind-blowing to me, man, because the reality is, look, man, the media and J.B. Pritzker, they're painting ICE as villains, glorifying criminals, and you know, the neighborhoods that are being raided, they are happy. They're relieved. They have cried for this. The viral clip of, Chicago resident shutting down Don Lemon. Now, we know Don Lemon. We know his side. Donnie Lemonhead. We know he is pro-Democrat to the fullest, but he went out there, and I'm not no necessarily fond of Don Lemon, but he went out there and actually got on the ground, unlike mainstream media, and got the sentiment of the Chicago people, the Chicago residents. Check it out.
How do you feel about the ICE raids?
The who?
ICE raids.
Like
immigration.
I feel good about them.
Yeah, you want them? You want them to crack down?
More, yes.
You do?
Yes, been wanting it for years, all my life.
And what about them like roughing people up?
Nah, that shit crazy. Don't put your hands on nobody. That's crazy. Don't hurt nobody. Do it the legal way.
But that's what they're doing, though.
That shit ugly. Then no, I don't feel great about that. I mean, don't hurt nobody. At the same time, get them out of here. Get them all out of here, please and thank you. Trump 4 more years for that.
Did you
just
support
for that? Just
Did
for
you
that.
vote for him?
No, hell no. I can't vote. I lost my voting rights when I was 22 years old. I apologize.
You went away?
Yeah, for assault and battery.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you said 4 more years for Trump?
Just because I want him to concentrate on nothing but immigration and getting them out of here. Just for that.
You don't think they
Nothing
contribute
else.
to the economy at all?
Of course they do. Of course they have. At the same time.
Come on, man. How they contributed to the economy if they're not even legal citizens, don't have a social security number, and basically, see, I don't think people understand that the Democrats are basically advocating for slave labor, let alone trying to create a new voter base because Americans are waking up. It's just that simple. And the reason why I say that they're advocating for slave labor, because you got Jasmine Crockett head, sitting there talking about, oh, who's going to pick the cotton? Like, why would you say stuff like that? Like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you, lady? So you want illegals to be here so you could prop them up to basically work for a cheap cost, and then you feel like you're doing them a favor because they're in America, which is a blessing because America is great, the land of the free. And you sell them this whole idea of having a better life, but you pay them with cheap labor. I mean, you pay them cheap labor prices or cheap labor costs because you want to avoid actually paying the average everyday American Joe taxpayer what they deserve, to be able to survive, to be able to live in this economy. So they know at the end of the day, if they get illegals to do the job, and they don't have no social security, they can't be tracked. You can pay them trash salaries, or you could pay them a trash pay, and then the company benefits. But that's still slave labor because at the end of the day, it's not fair to those people when you know that they're trying to have a better living. You're taking advantage and basically abusing an individual because you want something in return, but you basically benefiting on your own selfish need, but also not only worrying about yourself, but not doing things the right way that's fair if you're going to hire a worker, because there's rules to this, right? There's rules to having a business. There's rules to putting people on payroll. You can't just, you're trying to get people under the table. A lot of people who work under the table is individuals that don't do right. Most individuals that come in America illegally work under the table because they know that at the end of the day, they can't legally actually go to a job, go through the hiring process, get interviewed. They don't have a social security, they don't have a license. But we know that in New York, recently they were giving out no IDs licenses, right? You can't make this stuff up. So when this brother sit here and say, oh, well, of course illegals contribute to the economy. No, they don't. Like, come on.
You don't think they contribute to the economy at all?
Of course they do. Of course they have. At the same
How? They don't pay taxes. They're illegal.
time, think about the people who wasn't able to contribute because the immigrants was there. You know what I'm saying? The people who live here and who was born here, was raised here, who has the same skill set that they have, but wasn't able to do their job because they were there illegally to do it.
Exactly.
Now the people who's here legally, like me, I guess you, him, can't do that job because them people who are illegal are doing it, which is not cool for us.
But they're having trouble filling jobs. They can't find people to fill jobs.
Shit.
That's a lie. Like I said, they're advocating for slave labor, and they basically don't want to pay Americans the pay that Americans should get in doing things the right way. See, when you have someone who has a business and they don't want to pay a reasonable cost, or you don't want to put somebody on payroll to pay them a certain amount of hour, It's because they know at the end of the day they're selfishly wanting to enrich themselves, right? And at the end of the day, there has to be some grade level. Let's say, for example, certain states already have a baseline on how much you have to pay an hour. But if they can hire a legal to do it under the table, of course you already know they're going to pay them cheaper, and then it cuts the cost, which then isn't contributing to the economy because an American worker doesn't have a job, right? And they put a legal to do it to get paid under the table, taking advantage of a situation all bad in just itself, and an American worker is out of a job. It's disrespectful to the country. It's disrespectful to the average American worker who actually pay taxes, and it's disrespectful to the process, or disrespectful to those who do business the right way in America. That's how I look at it.
Getting rid of so many people.
Okay, what kind of jobs are they,
All over in the service industry and farming.
Because it's like everybody got to reset. They're going to reset themselves. That's all they got to do, reset themselves.
The farmers are complaining about it, that they want Trump to ease up a little bit because they thought they were just going to do the violent people. They need undocumented immigrants in order to get food to your table.
It's not true, bro. It's not true.
No, that is true.
That's not true, bro. That's not
you don't want to get facts.
There ain't no American born and raised here that won't do the job. They crazy as hell. I know lots of them in my projects. Trust and believe me.
Why aren't they doing it then?
Because they don't have the opportunity because it's not there.
Exactly. But then Don Lemon is trying to say, oh, there's not enough jobs to fill them. The illegal took the opportunity because the company wanted to be greedy and not do things the right way, which caused the American taxpayer to be out of a job. So jobs are being taken away because of an anti-American act of hiring an illegal on top of just bad business and just greed from the business, right?
Ain't going down there just
no,
get
there
rejected.
are people who can't keep their restaurants open because they're getting rid of their undocumented workers, and they're trying to get workers here that are.
They should have never hired.
Still about the ICE raids.
Come on, Donnie, Lemonhead. You know darn well they shouldn't have hired them illegal workers in the first place. You know darn well.
Service industry and farming.
Because it's like everybody got to reset. They're going to reset themselves. That's all they got to do, reset themselves.
The farmers are complaining about it, that they want Trump to ease up a little bit because they thought they were just going to do the violent people. They need undocumented immigrants in order to get food to your table.
It's not true, bro. It's not true.
No, that is true.
That's not true, bro. That's not
you don't want to get facts.
There ain't no American born and raised here that won't do the job. They crazy as hell. I know lots of them in my projects. Trust and believe me.
Why aren't they doing it then?
Because they don't have the opportunity because it's not there. They ain't going down there just get
there
rejected.
are people who can't keep their restaurants open because they're getting rid of their undocumented workers, and they're trying to get workers here that are American born, and they're not taking the jobs. They don't want those jobs.
Oh, they don't want them jobs. Okay, I don't know nothing about that, man. All I know is that I'll get a job.
You know why they're not taking them jobs? Because they're trying to rip them off and pay it at a low cost. They don't want to actually pay them what they should be paid per hour. That's why they hiring illegals, because they want to do it the cheap way due to their business being greedy. There's a such thing as corporate greed, Don Lemonhead. And if you can hire someone illegal to do it under the table and take advantage of their situation when you know they want to come over here to America in the first place to have a better life, you're taking advantage of someone who desperately needs it. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and they'll take anything, and the business just happen to take advantage of them. But that doesn't mean that the job isn't there. And it's a way to go about it. How many times have America issued work visas to illegals? Let me put it like this. Not illegals. Correction. They actually issue work visas to individuals out of other countries, and then they came in and trained Americans, and also they were part of the ecosystem because they added value, let alone invested into America for a better living. So in exchange, you teach us American, which Donald Trump is standing for, and I love it. You can work for America because, let's say, for example, in the tech world, in the tech field, and in the call centers and all of that, Donald Trump has been bunkering down on just Indians. There's a lot of Indians. We don't know what they're saying. It's not really a lot of American workers in the tech field. Okay, well, If you want to work for America to get American dollars and work American job, we'll set you up with a work visa. But one thing, the fine line is, this is the underlying thing that you have to do that's mandatory. Train our workers with your skill to do the job, which is why we're giving you a work visa, because you still, yeah, you're doing the job and you're benefiting from America with the work visa from other countries, let's say, for example, in the tech field. But at the same time, we need you to train Americans so also American people, American workers can actually have the skill set to be marketable and get a job and be able to have higher upper advantage on getting a job. That's not fair. It's not fair to Americans when you have individuals coming over here on work visas and they're just taking money and sending it back to their country. But what does America get in return besides giving them a better life? Besides American taxpayers paying for these visas to be issued and creating a job that is created and creating a company that issued creating. I mean, let me backtrack. The tax dollars are basically being used to issue these type of visas, let alone give opportunities to these individuals that are taking advantage of it and send the money back to their country. So you can't go to China as an American and think you're not going to go there and invest in a economy. Yeah, you go work there, but you're not about to just work in China and think you're not going to invest in a company and at least do something. See, it's disrespectful because you can't go to Mexico and think you're going to work in Mexico and do business there and not put some type of money in their economy. See, America has been taken advantage of for so long that Donald Trump has basically returned the priority of, okay, if you're going to come over here and leech off of us and for a better life, in exchange, invest back in our economy. That's why tariffs are taking place, right? There's too many times that China have came over here and done business and took all the investments and took all the profits and went back home. But what percentage did American get in that when we have the highest? And I mean, we control the market. America has the most consumers which buys products from China, right? So we control the market because if nobody buys the product, how can China profit? So at the end of the day, yeah, we can issue work visas for individuals that want to have a better life or a better opportunity and doing it the right way so they get paid good monies and take it back to their country to better their lives and so forth. But you better be teaching American worker as well. See, there's a trade-off. There's a trade-off. Because if they teach an American a skill set that they have been taken advantage of by a work visa, see, it's not fair to Americans that have basically funded this visa to take place for them to come to America for a better life, to take the job, being issued a work visa. But then the average American can't do the job that they are taking advantage of. And then we don't have no jobs in the job market for Americans to have jobs. That's not right. So teach an American why you also benefiting off of America. And that's how you truly, I feel as though, and give back to the economy, but also show your appreciation to America and just being grateful for the opportunity because you benefit because you're taking the money back home. So see, Don Lemon thought he was going to walk up on this guy in Chicago and he was about to get a sob story, but instead the brother said, get the illegals out of there. We've been wanting for years, right? And you can see the shock on Don Lemon's face because you have the mainstream media and you have Don Lemon, who is a pro-Democrat. I think he's a radical left, man. But you know where he stands as with the Democratic Party. He's standing with them 10 toes down. He actually stood to the truth. I got to give him credit. He's on the ground like CNN and MSDNC, right? Because the reality is working class Americans, especially in urban areas, are tired. They're tired of being used as props for political talking points. They're tired of living in chaos while mayors play morality theater. And you got illegals flooding into neighborhoods, taking jobs, draining city budgets, crowding schools. And these leaders want to pat themselves on the back. Yay! Like, hold up. For being compassionate? Because compassion ain't compassion when it hurts your own citizens that elect you. That's not mercy, that's betrayal. Let's just be real. See, ICE isn't the villain. ICE is cleaning up what these cowardly politicians refuse to address. They're not dragging out grandma who overstayed her visa to visit her grandkids, right? They are detaining criminals, violent offenders, people with records, and the proof is right there. The DHS reports back it up, but the media don't read reports. They read scripts. They'll rather cry racism than admit that enforcing the law actually works. So that's Don Lemonhead, right? But I want you guys to see, it was the Chicago resident, because this has been this story going around of, oh, ICE went into this apartment building and the kids were in zip ties and you know they were treating them so horribly and they knocked the door down and kicked the door down. Well, they don't tell the part where the illegals actually took over the apartment complex that American citizens were staying in, let alone living next to illegals and Venezuelans taking over the whole apartment complex. But no, they want to be on identity politics and tug onto your heartstrings and say, "Oh my goodness, they put kids in zip ties. How could they do that? That is so unhumane." But don't take my word for it. Here you go.
Let me help you out with this one, okay? Since you don't get it. I literally live around the corner from where that happened at, okay? And not all black people were detained. It was just a couple of black folks in a building that nobody was supposed to be in. Yeah, they didn't tell you that narrative, that nobody was supposed to be in that building. Nobody. Also, that's a building full of clucks. You do know what clucks is, right? Also, the Venezuelans went through that building and took over the whole building. Not forcefully, but they just started moving in apartments they ain't had no business moving into. Also, it's a lot of Venezuelans that look black. You know, like Cubans and Dominicans. There are some Venezuelans that look black. So guess what? If you didn't have your ID or no proof that you had residency there, then yes, they were detaining you. Because number one, you wasn't supposed to be in the building. Number two, the landlord don't own the building no more. The bank owned that building. Number three, it was a gang of Venezuelans in all apartments that wasn't even supposed to be in them apartments. So hell yeah, they detained everybody so they can sort it out and find out who is who. That's what happened.
Exactly. See, the thing is, if you're legal, you don't have to worry about ICE coming after you. The problem is, it wasn't an apartment complex no more. They basically squatted, let alone be illegal at the same time. It's just anti-American, it's disrespectful, and they come over here with the entitlement of feeling like they can take over things. And even if it was still an apartment complex by the landlord, which he just said the bank owns it, now basically what is the landlord supposed to do? To go through this whole court process to get these illegals out? Because you have Democrats believing they deserve due process, right? Oh my goodness, they're black. This is racism. This is inhumane. Why did they do that to these kids? They put them in zip ties. You know what I mean? Why the divisiveness? Why the racism? Why all of that? Because they want to tug on your emotions, get you, they want to rage bait. They want to get you all up in, all unhinged. And basically, they want you to feel enraged. But at the end of the day, that's why you have to do your own research, right? Because it's mind-blowing, right? They try to say, oh, the minorities and blacks and Hispanics, how do you let ICE do this to you? Well, you're just because somebody's Dominican or Spanish or whatever, there's plenty of dark people. They don't necessarily be black. You know what I'm saying? But the crazy part is the way they try to paint like minorities, you're being so oppressed for law enforcement coming in and doing their job. Well, guess what? The uncomfortable truth is Hispanic voters are flipping on the left. Because a new poll showed support for deportation up over 11% amongst Hispanic voters. Now, I'm not going to read the article, but I just wanted to prove the point. And when you really look at this, why? Because they see the truth. It's actually a lot of Hispanic people who are ICE officers. Literally, no. And they know illegal immigration hurts illegal immigrants first. It hurts legal immigrants. It lowers wages. It raises crime. and drains resources that hardworking citizens need. And the narrative that only conservatives want deportation is dead because the silent majority across every race is done playing nice, right? Because Chicago's crisis proved one thing: you can't build safety on lies. You can't ignore the law because you're scared of headlines. Real leadership enforces accountability. Why you think that the banner on the title of this segment is ICE Raid Chicago Collapse and the Death of Accountability? Weak leadership hides behind hashtags. Have you ever seen, and it's the most I've seen out of my 26 years on this earth, I have seen Democrats basically talk about, well, I should say, through their Ponzi scheme, or I should say, disguising their Ponzi scheme of, you know, continue to advocate right now through a government shutdown going against the Republican Party. They're basically trying to fight for illegal migrants to get health care for all, right? But they'll say health care for all. Everybody's dying. Everything's shutting down right now in facilities because of the Republicans want to play games. This is the most of my 26 years on earth that I have seen Democrats. They basically fallen off the cliff. They have these radical, extreme, leftist type of ideologies to the point where they don't even connect with the average American Joe. I can't resonate with them. My family is pro-Democrat. I can't connect with them, man. Now, I'm pro-American. I'll call it out what it is. If the Republicans is wrong, we're gonna get into that. If the Democrats wrong, we're gonna get into that. But the reality is they so busy saying lies and narratives and trying to get people all emotional and being all sympathetic to basically disguise their hidden agenda, but you can't disguise it no more if the truth is out. No matter how many times you try to have a discussion with them, they keep talking these talking points. Healthcare for all. Oh, Donald Trump is a dictator. Oh, the fascists. All of this crazy stuff, right? But it's like, where's the policies? Where is the benefit for the American, everyday, average American Joe? The legal immigrant, right? The legal migrant. How does this benefit the economy? Where's the long-term prospect of this? How does this help the economy to continue to grow? See, how can we stop creating manufactured problems and actually solve real problems and not create ones just for the simple fact of staying in power to print more money? You ever think of that? You know what I'm saying? We just having a real conversation. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. We just here to have a conversation. I'm just giving my authentic thoughts here. So, like I said, behind Chicago and all of this crap is ICE is doing what officials won't do. And I believe that these Democrats do not want ICE to come into these communities because it's going to make their leadership crumble, let alone their whole divisive, emotional, tug on heartstring narratives and stories that are lies. Because at the end of the day, if ICE can come in and do the job that you were elected to do, which is prioritizing the safety and national security of your city, then what do we need you for as a leader, right? Governor J.B. Pritzker, high school teacher, world history teacher, incompetent, confident, idiotic Mayor Brandon Johnson. What do we need you for? If ICE is doing what officials won't do, which is protecting communities. See, you can't have a thriving city if you don't have safety, right? Good infrastructure. And when I mean good infrastructure, like transportation, because Chicago, they basically doing away with their transportation. And when it comes to the whole busing company, because they're in so much loads of debt. But you need transportation, good education, safety. You know what I'm saying? And you need businesses wanting to actually come to the city to create jobs. So all this whole thing of tax the rich, tax the rich. Well, do you ever think that the rich has so much money that they can actually relocate? But the average Joe American can't just up and go. So if you tax the rich, and the rich is the one that's coming to the city or coming to that state or whatever to create jobs. When you keep taxing the rich, then when the rich, wealthy individual who created jobs in the first place relocates that whole that warehouse or that whole company to another state, all of those individuals in the state that the wealthy or the CEO of that company is in, they're going to be out on jobs. They're going to lose jobs because the rich, the wealthy, they like to tax, is going to relocate. Why did you think in the Biden administration, right? Why do you think Donald Trump is trying to get all these jobs back to America? Like, for example, the Hyundai plant, that was in Mexico. What happened to the automakers, right? The auto manufacturing. When it came to Ford, when it came to Chrysler, no Stellantis, known as Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, all of those manufacturing plants or those auto plants, they were basically outsourcing. They were going outside of the country. Hyundai was going to like Mexico and creating cars in Mexico and moving their plants out of America because Democrats want to tax the rich, right? Tax the rich, tax the rich. Well, all they're going to do is relocate, or they'll put their money in a different country, still create the product. It just won't benefit America because now there's no jobs. The business can't get taxed. So actually, if the business is no longer in America and they outsourcing it to another country, and basically the other country is benefiting off of it, like Mexico with the Hyundai plant that got removed, then they're actually the profits and the way the business is succeeding and creating jobs. Mexico is going to benefit that job wise, tax wise, whatever their tax is for that business, that plant to operate there, which then puts into the Mexico ecosystem or benefits Mexico. So now we're being ignorant, right? How can you tax the rich and the wealthy when they're the ones that are creating jobs, right? They can put their money in an account overseas somewhere. They don't got to put it in America. They put it in stocks and stuff. But the average American Joe can't just do that, and they suffer because Democrats is so busy worrying about being in control, but they don't want to actually prioritize Americans. You work on behalf of Americans. You are a public official operating like you're in a private sector. And do you wonder why they are actually acting like the CEOs in a public official position? That's what cracks me up. Tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich. But you're the one that are getting wealthy off the backs of taxpayers. How selfish is that? How ignorant is that? And that's why we have to stay informed. That's why we have to vote the right way. Individuals that are actually lobbying the interests for Americans. So, like I said, Chicago proves that, look, if this offends you more than the crime itself, you're part of the problem. Because for ICE is doing what city officials want to do in Chicago, which is protecting communities, I don't know how can you be against that. Because America doesn't need ICE-free zones, according to Mayor Brandon Johnson. Because it needs nonsense-free zones, if you ask me. Not this school teacher sitting here talking about ICE-free zones. Right? We need a government that actually values citizens over optics. If you care more about criminals' comfort than your community's safety, step down. Which this man's heart is so hard and he ain't going to step down. He too busy profiting too. Archdiocese, and he the one that allowed all the illegal migrants into Chicago. He had them in schools and had them sleeping in police department buildings, police stations and stuff. We still don't know the companies that profited off these illegal migrants, right? And it's mind blowing to me. Chicago's decline is self-inflicted, and it's going to be very, very bad for them to bounce back for it because they have so many people in the city. It's a big city, and until people start voting for slogans over results, nothing's changing. And I can't even Chicagoans. I can't even sympathize so much because you voted this guy in. You voted a high school teacher in. You know what I'm saying? So now I want to get to this illegal superintendent, right? Because this guy, like, I'm sorry, he has outdone the Nigerian fake scammer. He has outdone the Nigerian scammer. My man has faked to the fullest. You know how they say fake it till you make it? My guy has done some fake it till you make it, but he took it to the extreme on an illegal standpoint, on a anti-American standpoint. My guy just was like, look, I'm not going nowhere. I'm going to fake my degrees. I'm going to just fake it all. to success. You know how many people die to be a superintendent, die for jobs like this, making $300,000 a year? But check this out.
Now at the center of an immigration scandal in Iowa, landing in even more hot water. He's now facing a federal charge of being an illegal immigrant while possessing guns. I don't know what to believe from this guy. Nate Foy's got more on this, and Nate, good morning to you. What have you learned?
Hey, Bill, good morning. So Ian Roberts, the illegal migrant from Guyana, is now facing up to 10 years in prison for this federal gun charge. ICE agents found a handgun wrapped inside a towel in a district-owned Jeep Cherokee during his arrest last week. He's also accused of trying to escape immigration authorities before that. A search of his home later revealed 3 more guns, according to a criminal complaint unsealed yesterday. The Des Moines Public School Board accepted Roberts' resignation on Tuesday night. He's currently being held in an Iowa jail. Some in the city are protesting his detainment, but his hiring is leading to questions about the vetting process in Iowa's largest school district. During his application process, Bill, to become the Des Moines superintendent, Roberts claimed that he earned a doctorate from Morgan State University. The school district found out that wasn't true and gave him the job anyway, writing, quote, "The board was aware that Dr. Roberts did not graduate from Morgan State University at the time of his hiring." The board also admits to knowing about at least 1 gun charge involving a hunting rifle, but says Roberts provided sufficient context to explain the situation away and move forward with the hiring process. More than that, his LinkedIn claims that he went to MIT, but the university tells Fox they have no record of his enrollment. Federal officials say Roberts entered the United States on a student visa. He was ordered to be deported during a hearing in May of last year, which records show he didn't attend. The Des Moines School District says that he also claimed to be an American citizen while applying for a state superintendent license that he got, but of course he no longer holds that job, Bill.
Okay. Just keeps on going. Nate Foy, thank you on that today. Thanks,
got it.
Nate. Dana?
This story is incredible. Paul Morrow was the first person I ever saw, talk about.
Man, that's just crazy. So this story, right, should have shut down the education system for review. Like, the man, he made a mockery of public education by faking his way to the top. And this dude wasn't even supposed to be here. He's an illegal immigrant from Guyana, came on a tourist visa, overstayed, got arrested for drug charges. The board say they knew. But then the board is trying to save face and blame the firm that done the background check. And somehow ended up the superintendent, he still ended up, Ian Andre Roberts ends up being the superintendent of the biggest school district in Iowa. So if you let that sink in, he didn't sneak into no warehouse job. He didn't fake being a landscaper. He faked his way into running a system for children. And it makes you wonder, where else is this happening at? How many other Ian Roberts are they? Right? Because he lied about everything. He faked degrees from MIT, Morgan State, fake credentials, fake story, fake identity. He had guns hidden in a school district car. Federal agents found a loaded weapon wrapped in towels and district issue SUV. And somehow you still had people defending him. People saying we need to have empathy. Nah, empathy is for mistakes. This was deception. This was systemic failure. You know how the board responded when they found out that we were aware? Like, that's what blew my mind. They said they were aware he didn't graduate, but we thought he had potential. And then you'll wonder why Donald Trump is so big on not going into this diversity, equity, and inclusion narrative. Like, not hiring just based on identity politics, but actually merit, actually being qualified, actually having the credentials, because they basically did a DEI hire. Diversity, but no qualifications necessarily checked. At the jeopardizing the safety of kids. Children of American taxpayers who are paying this superintendent because, let's be honest, they are in Iowa. They are citizens in Iowa, or residents in Iowa. They're American citizens. They pay taxes, which portion of that goes into the school system, which funds Ion Scammer Roberts' illegal immigrant check. So, so now being a felon is a resume booster. Because these people are insane. This wasn't some secret background check oversight. They knew. They knew they hired him anyway. Because in the world of DEI, optics and beats qualification, right? They care more about looking inclusive than being competent. And this man worked in Baltimore before that. Look, Baltimore, I'm not sure if you guys know, but Baltimore public schools are a scandal factory. I'll cover that in an individual video, right? A pre-recorded one. I'll upload that today. He was a principal there when test scores were being faked in the Baltimore public school system that he was a part of before being a superintendent of this Iowa school district. Kids graduating who couldn't even read. And what did the system do? Promote them. That's not failure. That's reward for corruption. You could rob a store in broad daylight and get a job teaching economics under this logic. The problem here isn't just Ian Roberts. It's the system that created them. The same system that makes higher decisions based on skin color, gender identity, and representation instead of merit and morality. Like I said, they turned the public school system into a diversity audition instead of an educational institution upholding the respect and integrity of actual young children's education. And now we wonder why kids can't pass basic math. If you think this was an isolated incident, you're fooling yourself. You don't just have one fraud like this float through 4 states. Because mind you, he was registered in Baltimore he was registered to vote in Baltimore, even though he's not living in Baltimore in whatever the case may be any longer. Right? He just happened to be the one that got caught. There are more out there. Fake degrees, fake certifications, fake backgrounds, running schools, writing policies, and shaping the next generation. You expect the future to be bright? The board didn't even e-verify his documents. The most basic check that would have exposed him instantly. But that's what happened when accountability is labeled as discrimination. When you care more about being politically correct than factually correct. And you open the door for crooks like him to walk in where kids are, man. Kids. Kids who are the purest of the purest, innocent of the innocent. You just let a criminal just walk right in. Run in the school. And determines what they teach in the curriculum and how the school going to be conducted. This story should make every parent furious, man. And the only reason why the board is trying to save face because you know how many lawsuits they can face? Parents being infuriated the whole time it was a crooked illegal migrant running as a superintendent, as a current superintendent, standing superintendent in a school district in Iowa that their kid was at. How are we supposed to trust a system that can't even vet the people running it? You got teachers losing jobs for misgendering students, but a literal felon gets to run the district. It's insane. Yet people still act like school choice is controversial because at this point, keeping your kid in public school seems to be the real risk. And the Ian Roberts scandal here proves that public education isn't about the kids anymore. It's about control, money, and ideology.
About it. Now it's a week later, and we want to bring in Fox News contributor Jonathan Turley to talk more about this. Jonathan, get this. A former colleague of his says he ruined our district for 3 years. He was very smooth, affable, but the overarching feeling you got from him was smoke and mirrors, mystique. Jonathan, you think?
Yeah, and what is really astonishing is that the head of the school board and actually the Democratic nominee for the U.S. Senate race called upon Iowans to have what she called radical empathy for this individual. This is someone who lied to the district, had illegal guns in his possession, had an illegal gun in a school car, went on effectively a chase with police. And the response from the school board chair is, we really have to have empathy. And the question is, why? I mean,
they should be ashamed of themselves, man. They should be ashamed of themselves. What about radical empathy for the kids? Right? But you heard him say Democratic head of the board say radical empathy. So they'll forgive anything if it fits the narrative, their narrative. Even a criminal pretending to be a doctor. He said he was a doctor. Dr. Ian Roberts. of education. If this man can fake his way to the top, how many others are manipulating the same system while your kids are paying the price? You gotta wake up, man. You gotta wake up. But however, I want to get to the last segment of the show. I want to talk about Jay Jones. I'm not sure if you guys heard about him over here in Virginia. Now, we know this whole Charlie Kirk situation just happened. It was unfortunate. I pray for the Charlie Kirk family, and it was a husband taken away from his wife, who's now a widow, taken away from his kids, father. It's an unfortunate situation, all because of beliefs, right? Or difference of opinion. Now you have this guy, and it exposes how the Democrats really behave. And do you wonder why in Portland, like the beginning of the show, we talked about how these radical extremists are sitting there basically provoking ICE and being in front of the ICE detention center facility when they are just doing what law enforcement does, which is protecting the taxpayers, the American citizens, and legal migrants. See, I'm all for migrants. I love migrants. I love America. I love all people. But you got to do things the right way. You got to do things. You can't be coming to America illegally and just coming over here just thinking you're going to do what you want to do when you want to do it. That is so disrespectful to a country. Because American can't go to China and do that. American can't go to Mexico and do that. Boy, they will check you in a heartbeat. They check their own people in China. Boy, they'll have your head. So what I'm trying to get to is, now this shows that the Democrat Party is the violent party, right? And they're so busy trying to paint Trump as a dictator. But you don't see Republicans killing Democrats. Now, they may disagree, but you see more supporters of the Democratic Party that are doing the killing. And in this case, this guy, this one straight demonic Jay Jones, Democrat running for Attorney General in Virginia, got caught sending text messages saying he wanted to put 2 bullets in his opponent's head and watch the man's children die. Look at the messages. You can't make this up, man. It reads, they say nice things about everyone. Laugh out loud. I will go to their funerals to piss on their graves, send them out. Like, come on, man. You're demonic, man. See, at the end of the day, we're not just only facing individuals enriching themselves at the cost of destroying America or the country, this beautiful country, but also we're in a spiritual warfare within the mind, body, and soul. There's people out there that are evil, man. And it say send them out a washing something. Jay Jones, 3 people, 2 bullets. Like, why? And then he said, Jay, once he said, Jay, please stop laughing loud. Okay. Once she says your name, bro, you already know where we was going at. Told on you, bro. You done basically admitted that is you. You can't deny it. It's in the receipts, man. And then he said you weren't simply asking questions and you know it. I genuinely was. I wasn't attacking you. I was trying to understand your logic. You weren't trying to understand. You were talking about hopping Jennifer Gilbert's children. Yes, I've told you this before. Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy. What is wrong with this guy? And then you're going to say, I mean, do I think Todd and Jennifer are evil and that they're breeding little fascists? Yes. Like, come on, man. So this is what I mean about how Charlie Kirk died. We just went through this, man, from a difference of opinion. And the man was willing to agreeably disagree as a mature adult and initiate the conversation, willing to have a conversation with anyone who has a difference of opinion. Because that's the beauty of America, right? A lot of people say, oh, America, we have free speech. But what does it cost at the cost of killing somebody over a conversation? So now it spreads worry and fear. And how many times we seen Jasmine Crockett? Oh, we should go behind the Republicans and knock them upside the head. We have Maxine Waters. Oh, Donald Trump. When you see a Republican, get in their face. And all the Democratic Party has been known to actually provoke and known for supporters, the ones that have more of a mental illness, that actually take what they're saying as public officials, who most people they were elected obviously to operate or basically work on the behalf of lobbying the interests of taxpaying citizens, but they aren't. But how many people you think look up to these people or want to be elected official one day, taking their word literally as a way to go to be a public official and say, I'm gonna go knock the opposite party upside their head because I disagree? Oh, they're fascists, they're dictators. To me, the Democrat Party is known for provoking violence because, like I said, how many times have you known for Republicans to go provoke supporters to actually go kill a Democrat or actually go up there and have some type of physical force or violence or provoking a Democrat because they agree with them? None. Only the Democrat Party does that. And they know they have a base behind them. And it has been known and said that the Democratic Party has been having supporters known for having mental illnesses more than the Republican Party. So it's like they know their base, and they're provoking their base and rage baiting and egging them on to do these things and continue to say these things so they have some type of voter base. But in reality it's divisive, it's a shame, it's unacceptable, and it's let alone promotes violence. So this guy running for attorney general, Jay Jones, got caught sending texts saying he wanted to put 2 bullets in his pony head and watch the man's children die. Yeah, you heard it right. So not political strategy, actual death wishes. This man wanted a Republican lawmaker's kids dead, and he's running to be the state's top law enforcement officer. Just let that ring a bell for a minute. If that doesn't tell you how far gone the left is, nothing will. I'm sorry, nothing will. Like, you gotta wait. We gotta wake up, man. We can't allow this. Imagine if a Republican said that, right? As much as the Democrats come at the Republicans, they'll be in jail before breakfast. CNN will have a countdown clock. The DNC would be holding prayer vigils on MSNBC. But because Jay Jones is a Democrat, and Democrats are known for say what I say and do what I say, and if you don't agree with what I'm saying, then we got a problem. See, the Democrat Party don't want you to think. Do what I say and say what I say. Do what I tell you to do, and if you don't do what I tell you to do, then we got a problem. See, they don't want a difference of opinion. They don't want to actually have conversations. They don't want they're a party where you have to agree with them or there's going to be consequences, let alone death. To the point where you had your base, your supporters, kill Charlie Kirk, and now this just justified how the Democrat Party mindset is. I mean, they tried to kill Donald Trump, for goodness sake. Thank goodness, he didn't. They didn't. Because that's wild, man. Like, so the death wishes, and this man, right? I'm so lost for words because the story got like a 5-second headline and a shrug. Like, his apology is, I regret my words. Like, nah, we regret your existence in public office, bro. Like, you don't accidentally fantasize about murder. That's not bad wording. That's evil. So I want you guys to see on Morning Joe in regards to what they had to say on it.
Coming up, an attorney general candidate in Virginia is apologizing for his texts about a state lawmaker. We'll go through what the messages said.
Probably be forced to withdraw from the race, and probably is doing a lot there.
All right, Morning Joe will be right back.
Yeah, all right. He should notice that. He know better, bro. Like, you don't do no stuff like that.
Text messages.
Deeply disturbing messages that have been swiftly condemned across the political aisle. The Republicans have tried to tie this to the Congresswoman Spanberger, the gubernatorial candidate. She did very quickly denounce them. But it's unclear whether this attorney general candidate will stay in the race. I think there's a growing sense that he probably should not. We heard President Trump last night. But even some Democratic leaders, John Hyman, have started to say, like, look, this is inappropriate. You can't, and especially at a time right now with such concern about violent rhetoric and political violence.
Who says that?
Yeah, that this is just way beyond the line.
I would
Exactly.
say
Way beyond the line.
Be
It's unacceptable. What are you talking about?
Too much on the high horse. It's wildly inappropriate under any circumstances. Today, tomorrow, 10 years ago, 6 months ago. I think the pressure is going to be on Spanberger and for the party to ask this candidate to just quit the race, because just both, it's the right thing, and also the political splashback. You don't want to mess with this right now.
Who says that?
I think the right thing
What do you mean mess with this right now? You don't want to mess with it at all.
is basically this guy should do everyone a favor and step out of that race.
Yeah.
All right. So excuse the train. I'm next to a train. But the whole point is, this is the modern left in plain sight. Violence is fine as long as it's pointed in the right direction. They talk about tolerance while cheering for destruction, and they claim to fight hate with love, but can't hide their obsession with silencing anyone who disagrees. And they normalize the idea that conservatives are so evil that it's okay to harm them. That's why Antifa gets away with riots, right? That's why professors joke about killing fascists. It's not fringe anymore. It's just mainstream Democrat behavior. Governor Glenn Youngkin and Winsome Sears called it out immediately. They said what needed to be said. The man is unfit to lead. But the rest of the Democratic Party, right? Crickets. Some even defended him. Others said he learned from it. Learned what? What did he learn? How to shoot straighter next time? The bar is underground at this point. And you know why this keeps happening? Because the left rewards rage. They built an ecosystem where outrage equals power. The more you hate your opponents, the higher you rise. They don't promote competence. They promote cruelty. You can threaten to kill your rivals and they'll still endorse you if it helps them win. That's not politics. That's a cult. So you guys see in this article, right? New York Post, Virginia Attorney General candidate Jay Jones said if more cops got killed, they wouldn't shoot so many people. What? So this is the type of guy, right? This is a guy who's running. He's already facing calls to drop out, and mind you, this was the 2022. These were Texas changes back in 2022 between them. And he suggested he would shoot the House Speaker Todd Gilbert. This is wild. So I just wanted you guys to see the article. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is this guy, right? And I want you guys to see what Fox and Friends had to say about it.
This is demented. And here we have the Democrat candidate running for attorney general, the top cop in Virginia, wishing not only that he had 2 bullets to put in a guy's head, but then he wishes death on his children. And Todd Gilbert has small kids. And for Jay Jones to wish death on his small children is beyond belief. But that is where the violent left of the Democrat Party is. This is demented.
There you go. And this isn't just about one crazy candidate. Okay, I want to set this clear. It's about a movement that lost its moral compass. You can't keep preaching inclusion while condoning violence. You can't run a country when you see half of it as subhuman. Every time one of them says something like this and gets to pass, the country slides further towards chaos. And if you think words don't matter, ask history. This is spiritual warfare disguised as politics. When you reach a point where you're praying for your opponent's children to die, that's not disagreement. That's demonic influence. That is demonic. And I'm not being dramatic. We are watching evil masquerade as progress. And these folks don't need press conferences. They need deliverance. Okay? But here's the truth. Evil always exposes itself. The same people cheering him on will one day face the same darkness they unleashed. The left thinks that they can dance with this kind of hate forever, but hate devours its own. And when it does, don't say you weren't warned, because the writing's been on the wall for years. At the end of the day, Jay Jones isn't just one man. He's a symbol of where the modern Democratic Party has gone. No morals, no restraint, no soul whatsoever. And if this is who they want leading justice in America, then justice itself is doomed. We either return to God, law and order, or we watch this country collapse under the weight of its own wickedness. The choice is yours, or ours, I should say. The choice is ours. So that concludes the show. I just wanted to let individuals know that at the end of the day, we have to stay woke, do our research, speak with truth, walk in truth. And at the end of the day, we have to hold these individuals accountable. They've been getting away with it too long, and it's unacceptable. These individuals are supposed to be setting the example. They are public officials. They have been taking advantage of American taxpayers. They have been playing games with the everyday average American Joe lives, American lives, and they have been basically looking at Americans as a fool, like we're dumb. And I believe that's insulting, because at the end of the day, you can try to play Americans and play us for a fool, but how long you think it's going to take until we finally wake up and see the games that you play? And then they wonder why the world voted the way we did, right? Why do you think Donald Trump is the president? Americans have spoken, and they still can't respect that choice. So it tells you how much they prioritize Americans, right? This food for thought. But I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Give this video, or I should say video, live stream a thumbs up. I hope I added some value into you guys' life. Spread that peace, love, and positivity. Let the love supersede the hate. And if anything, I don't know if I should live stream more often. I'm up in debate about it. You know, I get shy sometimes, and but I do really truly want to add value into people's lives and have thoughtful, productive conversation. Sometimes I might even want to work my way to call-in shows. You know what I'm saying? But hope you guys enjoyed the video. I mean, live stream. I keep saying video. So used to doing pre-recorded videos. Catch you in the next one. Peace.